Hi friends, welcome back to my mini series on AI and ChatGPT for beginners. This is video number 2 and we are going to discuss how AI actually works. If we've not met before, my name is Helena and this is Espresso AI, where I share non-technical AI education to help try and close the AI literacy gap. If you want to start using AI in your work, in your life, in your business, then make sure you subscribe and that you're following along. So let's get into it and start talking about how AI actually works. And don't worry, I am not going to get super technical. I am not about that super tech bro life. So I'm going to keep it as simple as I possibly can. If you've watched video number 1 in this series, you will already have a little bit of context in this, but I'm going to dive a little bit deeper. And at its core, I'd like you to think about AI as a system that learns from data, which is something we've already discussed, right? Unlike traditional computer programs that follow really fixed instructions, AI learns by recognizing patterns in vast amounts of information. So if you think of AI like a child learning a language, a child will hear thousands of words and sentences before they start speaking. Over time, they start to recognize a pattern, what the words mean, how a sentence is structured, and suddenly children learn how to speak. AI does exactly the same thing, just with data instead of a human experience. And just like the more words a child is exposed to at a very young age, the faster they will learn and develop their own sense of language, AI works in the same way. So the more data that an AI model is trained on, the better it becomes at understanding and predicting. Let's talk about machine learning. This is how AI gets smarter. And this is usually the part where I lose people and your eyes glaze over and you think, this is starting to sound technical, but I promised you we wouldn't go down that route. So let's talk about it in terms that you will actually understand and will make sense to you. AI improves through this process called machine learning, which makes it sound like the world is about to end. However, what machine learning just actually is allowing the AI to train itself rather than a human needing to program every kind of response manually. There are 3 main types of machine learning. The first is the supervised learning, so the teacher approach. This is AI that's trained on labeled data. It learns by example like you would as a student with a textbook. So if you want AI to recognize cats and dogs, which is the example I used in our first video, you show it thousands of pictures of cats and dogs and you label them cats and dogs, and then it learns the difference. It's like, great, that picture had a label called a dog and that picture had a label called a cat, and now I can tell the difference between the two, okay? Then it will start making predictions when you upload a bunch of new imagery, and it can filter out, oh, yep, that looks all the same. There's all the dogs, there's all the cats, right? Still with me? I hope so. Good. Number 2, unsupervised learning. Let's call this the detective approach. AI looks for patterns without being told what to find, and it organizes and categorizes data on its own. I'll give you an example. Imagine you've got 10,000 customer purchase records. Without instructions, it finds patterns, noticing that perhaps customers who buy baby products also tend to buy coffee. And this is where we start to get the development of recommendation engines, because it sees that people who do this also tend to do this as well. Businesses use this to create recommendation engines, and probably the best example that we will all know and recognize is Spotify, Netflix, any type of content that you're using. That's all unsupervised learning, this detective approach of people who tend to do this thing also tend to do this thing as well, and we're going to serve them more of that. And then finally, there's reinforcement learning, and that's the kind of trial and error approach. AI learns by doing and gets better over time. Just like whenever you do anything in life, the more you do it, the better you get. So if AI is playing chess, it will start to adjust its strategy based on what leads to winning. And many AI systems use this combination of these different methods in order to improve over time. The next slightly technical term that you will hear often when it comes to AI is neural networks. Okay? Neural, you're immediately like, it's got to be something to do with the brain, and that is how AI thinks like a brain. A neural network is an AI system that is inspired by the human brain. And how it works is that just like our human brains have neurons, AI has got nodes that process information. These nodes are connected in layers, passing information and refining decisions. So as an example, when you upload a blurry image to an AI photo enhancer, neural networks will analyze the details and rebuild a sharper image. You know, when you see those things on like crime dramas and they're like, enhance this image of something like impossibly blurry, and then all of a sudden the image is very clear, that's an AI neural network doing that adjusting of that image based on things that it has learned and making sense of that image to be like, okay, this is probably what this looks like. And the more layers in a neural network, the more powerful it becomes. And this is where you hear the term deep learning. Large language models. Next buzzword on our list, LLMs, which is a mouthful for a Scottish person to say. And this is how AI writes and understands text. And it's something that we all know, and most people recognize now, or at least if you're watching this video, you will almost definitely recognize because you're here for ChatGPT and AI for beginners. These are models like ChatGPT, Claude, Gemini, large language models, a specific type of AI designed for understanding and generating text. And now what we're seeing on top of these models is the image creation and all of that good stuff, where they're learning from text-based prompts. They are trained on huge amounts of text, as I've said before, from books, websites, conversations, articles, and then they are learning which words commonly appear together. Okay, so they're looking at all of this text and being like, oh, this word tends to follow this word, and it's making a prediction. All these models are doing is predicting statistically the most likely next word in the sentence in order to make you happy. And I'm going to come back as to why AI just wants to make you happy in a minute. But if you type once upon a, AI is going to come back with, oh, the next word is time. Because statistically in the English language, that's probably the next word you're going to say. You're not going to say once upon a dog or once upon a window. It's most likely going to be once upon a time. And that's why AI generated text feels so natural, because it's based on real human language. But it is also why sometimes you're getting responses where you're like, that feels a bit funny or a bit off. And that's often to do with the text-based prompt that you have put in, because all the model is doing is predicting statistically what it thinks you want it to say back. And I'll come on to a little bit later in the series about how you can create effective prompts so that you actually get an answer back that you're looking for. The role of data. Why does AI need so much of it? AI needs data in order to function, but the quality of the data is what we're really most interested in. This impacts how well it works. Good data, accurate AI. Bad data, rubbish AI, biased AI, which is a big ethical issue to discuss, to think about, all of that kind of thing. Because when we are programming an AI model and it's programmed on text that's got an underlying bias into it, and then we're putting it into smartphones, into devices, into our everyday lives, into chatbots, we are then getting a biased response. So it's something just to be really, really cognizant of. Let's talk about the limitations of AI and what it can't do. AI is powerful, but it is far from perfect. So here is what AI cannot do yet at the start of 2025, when I am currently recording this. I'm aware I am putting out a series on YouTube that I'm probably going to have to update very, very regularly. AI doesn't understand anything, doesn't know what's happening. Remember how I said it's predicting this string of text? That's all it wants to do is make you happy. It is predicting words based on patterns, but it doesn't think like a human. Okay, it doesn't know what it's doing. It's got no idea what's happening. It's got no common sense. It's got no original thought. ChatGPT doesn't understand any emotion. All it is doing is mimicking them based on learned text. It might sound emotional, but it isn't. All it's doing is making a prediction. So AI is a tool, but it still needs human oversight in order for it to be truly effective. It still needs, again, this next term that you will tend to hear quite a lot, and I will likely refer to throughout this series, a human in the loop. Someone that looks at it and is like, yep, that's correct, that's good, that's right. And AI works by learning from this data, recognizing the patterns and improving over time. And so do you. The more you use these tools and the more you use AI, the more effective both you and the models you're using will become, because that will help shape how you understand how AI makes decisions. And an AI model will be like, this is a good response that this person is looking for. So the more you use it, and the more you use it for useful things, good things, things to improve and advance your own life, work, business, whatever it might be, whatever it is you're looking to integrate and use AI for, the better it will become. So that's the end of video number 2 in this series. In the next video, I'm going to go into a bit more detail about ChatGPT specifically and the different ChatGPT models that are currently available on the market in early 2025. So make sure you follow along and you subscribe, and I will see you in the next video.